on Monday. Businesses will not open in Nairobi. Responsible businessmen will not come to town. In cities and towns across the Republic where there will be no activity. Billions will be lost. Some people will be hurt. The country, as I said, is on tenterhooks. The question that I ask, if a mistake is made by one of the demonstrators or one of the security forces, then there is copycat revenge spread across the country. We saw this in the year 2007, 2008. We saw this immediately after the elections in 2017. And once again, we are seeing this kind of conduct. And what is happening is that we have leaders who are beginning to cross the line. And the essence of my letter was to appeal to the president and to appeal to Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga to do what is right and just. I hold the view that the rule of law not only requires but demands that we must act in accordance with the Constitution. What I've seen now as rehearsal for the march on State House is anarchy. That is not demonstration. That is not what is contemplated by the Constitution. That is anarchy. And what is defined as mass action is not mass action. Mass action, which was defined by Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., presupposes and requires of leadership not to use demonstration as a basis for creating confusion. It is about doing things that are in accordance with the law, using methods that are recognized. And you've seen what happened in Kisumu. Mm-hmm. If that is what is going to happen, I dare say, without mincing, that the opposition actually saying that they are going to overthrow the government of the Republic of Kenya as by law established. Mm. And that is treason. Let us not mince our words, because what has happened and is happening in Kenya now is that people are so intimidated that they don't want to speak the truth. But we must do so, because when this country is destroyed, all of us and our children and children's children are going to pay for it. We have seen countries destroyed. We have seen countries destroyed within the continent of Africa. We have seen that happen in Somalia, happen in Yemen, and in many other African countries. I hold the view that the opposition should use existing institutions. Thus far, I've not seen a petition made by a member of Azimio. I've not seen a petition made by governors of Azimio saying that there is a crisis in the country. It cannot be right that we use the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya to intimidate Kenyans. It is improper, it is selfish, it is undesirable, it is wrong, and it must be condemned without fear.
Absolutely. Prof, if we could just put up the letter. Monica, do you have the letter? If we put up the letter, it was a 5-page letter.
Yes, indeed.
5 pages. That's a lengthy letter.
And I said so at the very beginning that my letter is long because I was speaking to leaders. And when you are speaking to leaders, you must give it a historical context. And let it be said, this is not the first time that I'm engaging the President William Ruto on matters of the state of the nation. I invite you. His own autobiography at page 835, he acknowledges that even in the year 2007-2008, a team comprising of myself and other Kenyans were involved in the process of trying to broker peace. And I want to tell you, Jeff, on the 8th day of January 2018, after the elections in 2017 at Capitol House, I went to Deputy President Ruto's office when he was the Deputy President and said, let us have a rapprochement. So what I'm doing is something that we do for love of country. We cannot be a country where the pursuit of political office is a life and death issue. It cannot be right. To President Ruto, who is the President of the Republic of Kenya in accordance with the law. There was an election. The election was contested. We went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court pronounced itself as to who is the President of the Republic of Kenya. Therefore, it is what I call phantasmagoria to say that there is no President of the Republic of Kenya. There is a President of the Republic of Kenya. And I'm asking the President of the Republic of Kenya, it is your watch. Do all that is within your power to ensure that we do not get into the abyss. Thus far, whether one likes President Ruto or not, this government has been very restrained, and his acolytes would have been arrested. But the government, to its credit, has restrained itself from doing that. That is my request. I said, no matter how aggrieved you are, concede that there is a President of the Republic of Kenya. You are an elder statesman. Engage William Ruto in any event. You have worked with him before, so that we can resolve the issues of the economy. The economy of this country, if you look at the micro and macro fundamentals, is not going to improve in the next 2 years. Even if Honorable Raila were the president, it would not. And I'm saying this is the time when leaders across the political divide should come together and do that which is in the best interest of the Republic of Kenya. Let me pose to you, Jeff. If there is a march on State House, and God forbid, the mobs, and it will be a mob, succeed into getting into State House, and imagine that somebody is shot dead and there is a stampede, there will be a bloodbath, and Kenya will never be the same again. The following day, what is the end game? What is the end game? Because right now, when you read the social media, as I said in my letter, there is no shortage of individuals. Go on, you are our warrior. I am asked, please do not listen to those individuals. They are not your well-wishers. They are people who want the historical credits that you have accumulated to be forgotten by history. Do not listen to them. It is not too late. This country belongs to all of us. And God loves this country as he says he does. This is the time to reach out to President Ruto. The clergy talked to him yesterday. I'm urging him to listen to the clergy. I'm urging him to do what is good and right. Kenya is waiting. Let us stop this madness about our country. And I'm saying that there are existing institutions. Where is our parliament? Where is our National Assembly? Where is our Senate? Where is our Council of Governors? Why are we paying them? Why did we elect them? Why do we talk to each other at political rallies where vitriolic language is used, where venom is spewed? No, a country cannot do that. And let us not imagine for one moment that this country is immune from degenerating into chaos. It can. And we have tested God for too long. We have mocked God for too long. We have created our alternative truth for too long. The time is now for us to pause and ask, in whose interest? In whose interest are we doing this? And I think that we have a duty as patriotic Kenyan to speak without fear of favor. This intimidation, I saw what was happening in Kisumu, and the people were baying for the blood of a cabinet minister. Thank God the cabinet minister was not there. We would have had a death. And they have said that they are rehearsing. If this is a rehearsal, there will be rivers of blood in Nairobi. And who knows elsewhere? Are we prepared to swim in those rivers? And once we have the crown, after we have swum the rivers of blood, and we have the crown that is all blooded, will we sing hallelujah? These are the questions. I know what we are saying here is falling on waxed ears and eyes with scales, but we must say them regardless, that history may say and record that we did not keep quiet when our country was burning. I say in my letter, when your house is on fire, don't run after rats. The fire of economics, The fire of difficulties in life is threatening our house. Why are we running after rats? Why? In a country, you stop engaging in partisan politics because you are the president of those who voted for you and those who did not vote for you. And your duty is to ensure that the country of Kenya as we know it has economic prosperity. And you have inherited an economy that is not performing well in an environment that is not favorable. What do? You call on all heads across the political divide to ensure that you stabilize the economic ship and then ensure social cohesion. You remember that this is a country, whether we want it or not, where ethnicity plays a big role. What do? You ensure that in every action you do, you reduce the ethnic tension and make everybody feel that they belong. And political stability. You ensure that statements that emanate from your government are statements that build, not statements that divide. Yeah. Once you do that, then we can say you are discharging your duties as the President of the Republic of Kenya. He believes that he won the elections, but all institutions established by the Constitution say otherwise. The IEBC said that President Ruto won the election, he petitioned, and the Supreme Court said that the elections were properly conducted. Having submitted himself to the jurisdiction of those institutions, however aggrieved he is, he's got to accept that that is the result. Because the other route that he can take is the route that he is taking, the route of what is effectively a revolution. Is asking that the government of the Republic of Kenya, as presently established, be removed. And that can only be disruptive because President Ruto and the government that has been established will not just be sitting back and say, oh, come, hallelujah, we now accept. They will resist. And when there is resistance, the country will pay. But you have served this country. You have accumulated experience over the years. You have political influence. You have individuals who voted for you. Why don't you use that capital, political, social capital, and use your members in parliament to address the issues that concern you? What are those issues? One, that the cost of living is rising to the detriment of Kenyans. Parliament can do that. Your governors can do that. The president can do that. That you lost in a manner that you consider to be unfair. Look to the future. Let us ensure that the institution charged with undertaking and oversighting election is dealt with in a manner that we don't have future occurrences. Then history will say, behold, a patriot. Behold, a selfless man. Behold, a man who sacrificed all. Behold, a man who deserves historical credit. And his acolytes pull back. On Monday, businesses will not open in Nairobi. Responsible businessmen will not come to town. In cities and towns across the Republic where there will be no activity, billions will be lost. Some people will be hurt. The country, as I said, is on tenterhooks. The question that I ask, if a mistake is made by one of the demonstrators or one of the security forces, then there is copycat revenge spread across the country. Assure this country that they have control. They have promised peaceful demonstrations. I've heard some of their foot soldiers saying, there is no peaceful demonstration. Are they reading from the same script? If they don't pull back on Tuesday, what will Kenya look like? And if they don't succeed in removing President Ruto, and they will not succeed, what is their game plan? What is the end game? Will they go to the bush? Because there is now an army complete with uniform. Will they go to the bush? Will they attack Kenya and overwhelm us? And depose this government and install another one? What is the end game? Can they build the scenarios for us before? And I'm saying, let us not get there. Let us not get there. Let us pull back and ask, for what? For what are we doing this? That is all we ask. Yeah. And I'm sure there are no shortage of Kenyans of goodwill who think as I do, who desire as I do. But there is also no shortage of Kenyans who are saying, bring it on. I'm telling those Kenyans who are saying, bring it on, you are wrong. And history will tell you, you are wrong. Can your house be burning and you are running after rats? Let the rats run away. Let us come back to the house. Let us go to North Kenya and work with one accord for the sake of this country. There are people who can't pay school fees, people who cannot eat. Salaries have not been paid to workers in the devolved units. Yet we want to have a champagne revolution where you fly in with choppers and V8s. That is a champagne revolution. You eat caviar and eggs and sausage, then come to a meeting and tell people who have not eaten, let us invade State House. That is kamikaze, suicide. That is what we are saying is not necessary. Yeah. I hope that by divine grace, as I conclude my letter, the ears will listen, I hope, and pray. But that is all we can do. Yeah. Sometimes when people have determined to do what they want to do, everything that you say is stupidity in their minds. Stupid. He is saying stupid things. He's been bought. I'm sure there are people watching and saying, oh, he's been bought. Yeah. There are people watching and saying, oh, he's the personification of cowardice and stupidity. I prefer to be a coward for the sake of my country. I prefer to be stupid for the sake of my country. Because if we destroy it, you and me and other generations will be in heaven before Kenya is put back together, if it ever is put back together again. Let us pray, my brother.
And our children will never forgive us.
Oh, how can they possibly forgive us? Yeah. That for a crown jewel we chose to create a river of blood? Perhaps my imagination is too fertile. But history informs me that it takes a very little thing for a river of blood to be created.
A tiny little spark, Prof.
Yes,
tiny spark.
A tiny spark.
You know, some people say the problem with some of our leaders is the people around them that they surround themselves with. Those are the ones who like to fuel. Those are the ones who like to bait.
Mohandas K. Gandhi once said, once you are a leader, you are in a lonely place. And leadership is about telling those who are around you that have a bigger burden. I hear your complaints and all these other things, but I have a different duty to serve a country. That is an excuse. When you hear people saying it is those who surround him, that is a convenient excuse that people make. When you are a leader and you are sitting alone in your bedroom and you are thinking about the country, you must shake off your usual advisors, because these have vested interest. There are people who want you to occupy office because they know that when you occupy office, they also occupy office. Ignore them. It is the best time at that time to listen to people who are not ordinarily your advisors. And those who tell you the bitter truth, which you don't want to listen to. That is the time. This is the time. And Honorable Bruto to say, the message is sound, even if I don't like the messenger. That is all we ask.
Yeah, but something is lost in the translation, Prof. I mean, you know, that's a problem. By the time it gets down to Mashinani, the message is lost.
Absolutely.
But you still bank on the fact that there is hope.
When Pandora's box was opened, the only thing that remained was hope. We must remain hopeful. 5 days you've repeated several times.
Yeah.
I want to hear the voices of the clergy. I want to hear the voices of Kenya Association of Manufacturers. I want to hear the voices of Kenya Private Sector Alliance. I want to hear the voices of KOTU. I want to hear the voices of all trade unions only saying one thing: let us protect Kenya. I want to hear those voices between now and Monday, latest by Sunday. They should come out loudly and clearly saying, let us preserve Kenya. They are too eloquent in their silence. President Ruto, in accordance with the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, you are the President of the Republic of Kenya. This is the time when history calls upon leaders to rise above the parapet of partisan politics and to seize the opportunity to stabilize the ship of state. Don't think it underneath you to approach your adversaries. Do so for the sake of the Republic of Kenya, and history will remember you fondly. History is beckoning you to be great. However aggrieved you are, there is a process which is prescribed by the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. That process did not make you the President of the Republic of Kenya. Rise up and do that which is right. Use your experience and influence to protect Kenya. Do not march on State House. Use constitutional means. To my fellow Kenyans, whichever side of the political divide you are on, remember that if this country is allowed to burn, it will take this generation and generations yet to be born to put it together, if it can't be put together again. This is the moment when our patriotism must be given its pride of place. I beseech you, to those who are advisors of President Ruto, advise him to be a statesman. Tone down. You have blood flowing in your veins. Spare your country the pain. God bless you. Clear, and words are being bandied around like mass action. And let me use this occasion to share with my audience that mass action is an instrument that was used effectively by Martin Luther King Jr. during the Civil Rights Movement. And Luther King said that any responsible leadership that wants to engage in mass action must satisfy 4 tests. Number 1, they must demonstrate that they have a grievance and they do not want to use mass action to cause confusion and for the purpose of revenge. Number 2, that they must demonstrate that they have exhausted all methods of engaging government, including negotiations and petitions. Number 3, that having found all those methods and doors to be closed, that they intend to ensure that they do not cause injustice to others. And number 4, they must demonstrate that they have a clear program of salvaging the society without causing injustice to others. Let us put the so-called mass action against the Kenyan test and it fails on all four. And what we are being told is going to be an insurrection, because it has been declared at different rallies that the intention is to remove the government of President William Ruto as established. It has been said that that government is illegitimate and that what is going to happen on Monday is a date with destiny. In other words, that 1 million support will move into State House and remove President William Ruto as the President of the Republic of Kenya. If that is not a recipe for chaos and bloodbath, tell me what the recipe is.
Yeah.
And I see people taking it very lightly.
Yeah.
It is not light. Lives will be lost. Ruto has his supporters, and it will take a simple mistake and a simple misstep, and this country can burn, and those who are now tweeting and saying all manner of things will burn in it. Their children will burn in it, and it will take generations to bring this country together again, if we are to bring it again. Responsible leadership now has a duty, a patriotic duty, to step back and say, what is bigger, the country or my interest? The country or my desire to be president? The country of the institution? This is what we are asking. We are simply saying, but we accepted that we must have a system of determination of grievances which has finality to it. Suppose all of us were to do that. Would that not be anarchy? Do we want anarchy? This country that has such potential, with support William Ruto, is that what you want? And what we ask in Kenya, reflect. Don't be consumed by passion. Don't be consumed by anger. Reflect and ask, after what?
Yeah.
Same thing? History has not taught us. Do we think we are immune from chaos? Do we think we have a pact with God that we can behave whichever way we want? Do we think that political bad manners is going to lead us where we want? The international community was here, and they saved us from the precipice. Why is it that the wax in our ears refuses to melt? Why is it that the scale in our eyes refuses to fall off? We are appealing to the leaders. God has given them an opportunity to provide leadership. Leadership is about self-denial. This time round, if we make a mistake, and I've seen what happened in Kisumu today, those who think they have control should ask a person called Frankenstein. Sometimes you create a monster over which you have no control. Reflect and ask, do we want to destroy this country? Do we want it recorded that we are the ones who destroyed this country? We are simply asking, not for a handshake, we are simply asking responsible leadership. One of my greatest disappointments in this country, when there is a crisis, saying cost of living is high, I agree with him totally. I hear him saying that certain appointments could have been made better. I agree with him completely. But will marching on State House solve those things? Would the prices of commodities suddenly go down? Would the appointments suddenly change? Would Kenya become El Dorado, the land of gold? Will he have a magic wand that he'll wave, and lo and behold, Kenya's GDP increases? No. Has parliamentarians, not a single parliamentarian has come and said, we want an emergency discussion on the state of this economy. We have 47 governors, not one of them, they are meeting in Migori today as I speak, not one of them has said there is a crisis in our country. Not a single women's representative, not a single MCA. Why did we elect them? Why have we chosen the forum of political rallies? If you listen to some of the things that are being said in those political rallies, how people are being insulted, even sanitization of our language. has disappeared. What kind of a country do we want to build? What role models are we? We are saying, please, let us come together as a people and say mistakes may have been made, but together we can resolve them. This is what patriotism is all about. Patriotism is not about singing the national anthem or reciting mottos and all. It's about sacrificing for the country, sacrificing personal interest for this generation and generations yet to be born.
Absolutely.
Under the new Kenyan constitution, when you want to appoint anybody, you have to have an appointment panel. Once you've done that, you go to parliament. It is a long process. Kenya's appointment of public officials is one of the longest and the most expensive in the world. You are operating in an environment where the micro and macroeconomic fundamentals are unfavorable. And one does not have to be an economist to know that it is going to take this economy at least 3 years before we can begin to see the dividends. And that is holding all factors constant, assuming that we are behaving. As I speak to you now, 46% of our revenue is consumed by salaries. What is left for development? Money has not been disbursed to the counties, or if it is disbursed, it is not disbursed on time. The country is not doing well. When your country is not doing well, you sit together, you have a bipartisan approach to issues. You sit together, you forget Kenya Kwanza, you forget Azimio, you say, we are now Kenyans dealing with the Kenyan economy. That is what I would want to see. That is what every patriotic Kenyan would want to see. You would want to see the reduction of wastage. You'd want to see the battle against corruption and misuse of public funds. That is what we want. I would have loved to see who is an elder individual in the political arena reaching out to William Ruto and say, William, you know, we have worked together. We worked together when we were making the Constitution in 2002, you remember? We were together in 2007 and 2008 on the same political side. We may have differed, William, but the nation is greater than all of us. William, I am not happy that I lost to you, but that notwithstanding, I'm bigger than political office. Kenya is what resides in my heart and my mind. If I were to do that, let me tell you, history will remember him very fondly. But if, when schools are opening, there is a bloodbath, history will forget all else that he has ever done and remember him for only one thing, that he was in the forefront of the destruction of his beloved country. I would urge the Vice President to be even more restrained, and in times such as this, the government should speak with a single voice so that there is no confusion as to what the government's position is. I hear the president is saying that the line has been drawn in the sand. That is my interpretation. And that if you do certain things, then we will do what is necessary and let the chips fall where they may. I personally pray and hope that we will not reach that stage. I personally hope that those Kenyans of goodwill will still midwife a rapprochement between this administration and your administration. Unfortunately, it would appear to me that has neutered the entire administration so that their members in parliament are incapable of moving in a direction other than the one that he prescribes. I would ask him to allow his parliamentarians to function. If he does that, he would be a votary of democracy in accordance with our Constitution. So in a nutshell, I'm saying both sides need to recognize that it only takes a misstep for the country to burn. And the country can burn. Countries have burnt because of lesser things. Waswahili wanasema tukiendelea na ujinga huu itatutafuna, na vita havina macho. Vikianza havitatambua huyu ni Kenya Kwanza wala ni Azimio, itameza kila mtu. Kenya is our motherland, is a motherland that we cherish. And once we have voted a government into power, once we have voted the administration of Kenya Kwanza, then every Kenyan becomes available for appointment by Kenya Kwanza administration. It's true that every administration will appoint those who subscribe to their political agenda. To that extent, there is merit in what he's saying. But to say that you cannot go to Azimio or indeed any other Kenyan who has the quality to serve is, in my view, without merit. And I think that the Deputy President should be a lot more restrained. The reason why in many countries senior public officials are scripted is to prevent a situation where they speak off the cuff and say certain things that are subject to multiple interpretations. Let it not be that we are saying things that lend themselves to multiple interpretation and make certain people and certain communities in this country to think that they are not a part of it. That is dangerous, and it gives and lends credence to centrifugal forces which can divide the country. Yeah. And I hope that in their private conversation, the President of the Republic of Kenya will tell his deputy, please, restrain yourself, choose your words carefully. This is not a company. This is our motherland, in which all the communities have a stake, and in which any Kenyan who deserves ought to be given the opportunity to serve, party affiliation notwithstanding. Is doing badly. Our shilling is on a free fall against major currencies. The cost of commodities, the unemployment levels, our country is not doing well. And I tell both the President and this is the time when we sit together and begin to reason together and ask ourselves the fundamental questions: what can we do? What I want to see are crisis meetings, crisis meeting of the National Assembly, crisis meeting of the Senate, crisis meeting of the Council of Governors, crisis meeting at all levels, in order to ensure that we steady the ship and then begin to move in the right direction. This is what sensible countries do in times of crisis. This is not the time to waste money. Ask yourself the cost of each of these political rallies. It is possibly anything in the neighborhood of 2 million, because people come in with choppers, with motor vehicles that are guzzlers of oil. So each of those rallies are costing money in the millions. And not only that, what happened in Kisumu or Migori yesterday, if you talk to the business people, they have lost money in the millions. And that only serves to exacerbate the situation, which is undesirable. So the time is now for people who in positions of leadership to come together and ensure that we put together a package that will remove the country from the muck and mire of economic difficulties which we are suffering and which will lead to suffering if we continue on this trajectory. Has lost sanity. Look at the newspaper headlines. Look at the commentaries, the social media, the vitriol, so that it would appear that the genie is out of the bottle and we are all possessed by some spirit of destruction, and we are baying for blood. This is the tragedy. There is no shortage of good minds across the political divide. But if you listen to them or talk to some of them, as I do, they are baying for blood. They are saying, we are going to get it. And the other side saying, we are going to defend it. And as I said in the letter, Kenya is in a very lonely place. Nobody is speaking for Kenya. When I heard the religious groups speaking yesterday, they are so muted. I did not see the courage. I did not see the passion. This is unfortunate. And as I said in the letter again, when a country is hurtling towards its destruction, even when God reasons with them, and the leaders, they think God mad. I hope we have not reached such a stage, that God is reasoning with our leaders and with us, and we think God mad. If we reach such a stage, this country can fall. Let us not allow her to fall. Constitute the agenda for discussion. We know things that are wrong. We know that our constitution needs to be taken care of. Are these not the things that we ought to deal with in order to ensure that going forward we don't find ourselves in the same quagmire? Can't we have a meeting at which we are saying we want to ensure that in future we immunize our electoral process from the kind of pain that it visits upon us every 5 years? What can we do to reduce wastage so that we don't find ourselves in an economic quandary? What can we do to reduce wastage in government? What can we do to ensure that in appointment of individuals into public office, there is no feeling of exclusion? These are the issues that I would want to see my leaders talk about when they have this rapprochement. So there is time and there is need to have a conversation.
Yeah.
No ideal way, there is this perfection that we seek, it will never be found. And my good friend Muhisa Kitui once said when we sat with him on this bench, and I remember him so very eloquently saying that the problem of Kenya is political bad manners, and that political bad manners will never be cured by constitutional amendments or amendments to the law. We must also ensure that we don't have a culture where if things don't go our way, then they are not right. But I believe that we can revisit our electoral process in a manner that will satisfy the critical majority. Because it appears that even in the face of Constitution of Kenya 2010, we are not satisfied that independent commissions are truly independent. So there is merit in asking, but looking for the ideal in this world, no, you'll never find it. There'll always be those who are dissatisfied, who think that they have their own version of truth, and that version of truth is what must carry the day.
Yeah.
So let us look for that which satisfies the critical majority.
Absolutely.
It can always be reviewed. And indeed, in the year 2004, I think Parliament did mandate the former Auditor General Edward Ouko to review the Kenyan Constitution. And certain aspects of it were found to be worthy of interrogation. And I think that this is the time. There was the BBI, which did raise certain issues. I did not agree with a number of them, but I thought some of the proposals deserved re-examination. And I think the time is now for us to ask ourselves, how has our Constitution served us thus far? And if that is done in a bipartisan way, then we can identify those that have served us well and we retain them, and those that have not served us well, we amend them in a manner that is going to improve delivery of service and ensure that processes are respected and respected in a useful way.
Yeah.
Pass judgment, because in my view, there are those who hold the view, if you talk about the IEBC, they recently won an award that they conducted a perfect election. In the eyes of others, they did a perfect job. So there is a sense in which, in looking at the IEBC, it will be necessary to ask ourselves whether the architecture of the IEBC as it is now is conflictual and therefore lends itself to abuse. And those are the issues that we are going to look at. What are the weaknesses? We have seen today in the newspapers that they lost quite a number of equipment, and we are only learning about it today. So there is merit in looking at all these things. And once we do so, we'll say, is it the secretariat that does not relate with the commission as well? Do we have many commissioners? There are different models. If you go to India, they don't have as many commissioners as we have. If you go to Germany, you have a different model. So we pick a model that is going to ensure that we work properly. There are many things to be done in the Kenyan Constitution. in order to improve governance. We've got to look at the commission. There are too many of them, which are creating sinecure positions and don't serve the country as the country ought to be served. So what one is saying, the time is now to look at some of these things and look at them with the desire to improve governance in this country.
Absolutely.